Om Akhandam Satchidanandam Avang Manasogocharam Atmanam Akhiladharam Ashraye Bhishta Siddhaye. I take refuge as the Self, the Indivisible, the Existence, Consciousness, Bliss Absolute, beyond the reach of words and thought, and the substratum of all, for the attainment of my cherished desire. Now we have reached a natural high point, a kind of climax in our study. That is the study of the analysis of the Mahavakya, the great sentence, that thou art. So we were on text number 169, which concludes the study of the analysis of the great, the profound statement, the great sentence, that thou art. I have said earlier that all of Advaita Vedanta can be summarized by these great, quote unquote, great sentences. And these great sentences, they all mean the same thing, that the identity of the individual and the cosmic, the Jiva and Brahman, or more directly, they mean that you are this infinite existence, consciousness, bliss. So this is the central teaching of Advaita Vedanta. And the way we studied it was, we were given the sentence, Tat Tvam Asi, that thou art. And this is from the Chandogya Upanishad, where the father is teaching the son, and through several examples and arguments, that you are that ultimate reality. To understand this sentence, we had to go through 3 stages, a process with 3 steps or stages. And these stages are actually relationships. 3 kinds of sambandha or relationships. What are these relationships? One relationship is the samanadhikaranyam, between the words themselves, that thou art. So that and thou, between these 2 words, what is the relationship? Samanadhikaranyam. So what's the issue here? When you have a sentence has many words, and those many words will usually refer to many objects. And if the many objects are referred to by a sentence, then you are not talking about non-duality there. If you want to establish a non-dual reality, an indivisible reality, in Sanskrit, akhandartha, indivisible reality, then even though there are many different words in a sentence, you have to show that they all refer to the same reality. So the first step was to prove that that and thou are referring to the same reality. That does not refer to a separate God, and thou does not refer to a separate individual. They are in reality the same one indivisible reality. So that was samanadhikaranyam. Once you have done that, that and thou refer to the same reality, then immediately the question comes up, how are they related? If that and thou are the same reality, how are they related? What is the mutual relationship between that, which is the creator, preserver, and destroyer of the universe, the God of the universe, and thou, you, the individual? What exactly, how are they related? Are they different? We have said that they cannot be different. Are they parts of each other, or what? So that's why we go to the second stage of our processing, which is called Visheshana Visheshya Bhava, the adjectival relationship. What is this relationship between? It's between the objects referred to by the words. See, a word refers to an object. When I say pen, pen is a word, pada. And this is the padartha, the object. This object is the object referred to by the word pen. Similarly, when you say that and thou, you're referring to something. What is the relationship between those 2 things, that and thou? Usually they are related as adjective and noun, substance and property. We were given the example of blue lotus. Is it like that? Blue and lotus both refer to that same blue flower, but lotus is a flower and blue is a color, and the color is in the flower. So the substance and property relationship. Is it something like that? And we saw it couldn't be like that. We went through that entire process. So what's the meaning of the adjectival relationship? The Visheshana Visheshya Bhava for us is Anya Vyavartaka. This is the Sanskrit term for distinguishing that reality from everything else. What do I mean by that? When you say blue lotus, one thing it does is the blue excludes all other kinds of lotuses. It's not a yellow lotus, not a white lotus, not a red lotus, it's a blue lotus. And when you say lotus, it excludes every other kind of blue object. It's not a blue sky, not a blue shirt or a blue pen. It's just a blue lotus. So you see the two words, how they mutually qualify each other. When you have an adjectival relationship, they get together to exclude other possibilities and they point to that particular thing which you want to express. So blue lotus refers to that blue lotus only by excluding all other possibilities. Similarly, the adjectival relationship gives us an entity where that and thou, that Brahman and you, the individual, they mutually act together to restrict or to exclude all other possibilities. What does it mean? When it means when we are saying you are Brahman, we immediately exclude the possibility that you are body, mind, the prana, any other possibility, the panchakoshas. No, you are Brahman, none of those things. You are not a material entity. The opposite is also true. When I say Brahman is you, you are Brahman and Brahman is you, like a blue lotus. It excludes every other possibility. What we mean by Brahman is that sentience, that first person awareness which you are feeling right now. That is Brahman. We are not talking about some God in heaven, some other entity, Brahma, Vishnu, Kali, Durga. If it is something other than you, we're not talking about that. We're talking about you and you only. So it's a very radical identity. You are Brahman means you are nothing but Brahman, and Brahman is nothing but you. So this is what we get from the second relationship. But immediately it lands us in further trouble, because the idea of what Brahman is God, and what you are is an individual being. How can you be Brahman and how can Brahman be you? How can you be God and how can God be you? It doesn't work. In fact, the dualists are right when they say that it's impossible. What the non-dualists are claiming, that God and the individual are one reality. No, it cannot be. They're correct. It cannot be. It's contradictory. So the direct meaning cannot be taken, that literally you are God. It cannot be taken. So in these cases, what do? We go to the third stage, which is implied meaning. Lakshya Lakshana Sambandha, an implied meaning. Whenever we find the simple direct meaning doesn't fit, literally when you say you're God, doesn't fit, then you have to take an implied meaning. And the implied meaning, we saw, there can be different kinds of implied meaning, different processes. One is the Jahad Lakshana, where you give up the original meaning and take an implied meaning. The Gangayam Ghosha example, the neighborhood of the cowherds is on the Ganga. They can't be on the Ganga, it's a river. So they must be on the bank of the Ganga. You give up the original meaning of Ganga and take the bank of the Ganga. So does it work for Tat Tvam Asi? No, it doesn't work, because we don't want to give up the entire meaning of Tat. We don't want to give up the entire meaning of Tvam. What we want is that pure consciousness. We want to give up all the limitations of the Tvam, the body-mind limitations. But we don't want to give up that pure consciousness which you are, the Sakshi Chaitanya. That we don't want to give up. That's what we want to point at, in fact. So we can't take the method of implication which gives up the original meaning of the words. Then the other method was Ajahad Lakshana, where you make sense of a sentence by adding something to the meaning. You remember the example, Shona Dhavati, the brown one is running, or the red is running, the brown is running. We add an extra word, horse, Ashwa. The red horse is running, by which we mean that when you say red, you mean the red horse is running in a race or something like that. Can we add something to man to make man God? It doesn't work. It's ridiculous. As long as we remain individual, human, we are all too fallible. We are all too prone to weakness and limitation, and every human fallibility is there. Whatever you add to this, keeping the problem, it doesn't work. So that process also is given up, and finally we end up with a process called Jahad ajahad lakshana, partially giving up the meaning and partially retaining the meaning. Or bhaga tyaga lakshana, meaning the same thing, a partial giving up of the meaning. Or simply bhaga lakshana, partial implication. So what is this partial implication? Where these words are contradicting each other, because of which they don't fit. See, a blue lotus fits very easily. Blue is a color, lotus is a flower, and they can go very well together. Tall man goes very well together, but you can't say tall, short man. It doesn't fit. So, what doesn't fit when you say Tat Tvam Asi? What doesn't fit is God is all powerful. We have so little power. Doesn't fit. You have to give that up. God is all pervading. We are limited pervasion. Doesn't fit. You have to give that up. And so on. In this way, we come to that thing which is common to both, which is consciousness itself. And therefore, we say that Tat Tvam Asi, we retain that consciousness part, existence, consciousness, bliss part, we retain it, and the limitations we ignore. The limitations imposed by Maya in the case of Tat, and by avidya or ignorance in the case of Tvam. How can you ignore? How can you ignore limitations? You can ignore them because they are not real. You can ignore them because they are not real. What do you mean by that? A simple example will make it clear. So I've given this example earlier. Two friends go and they mistake. There's the classic thing about the snake and the rope in the dark, and somebody sees a snake, another person sees a garland, and it's of course not a snake, not a garland. It's a rope. But if you say the garland is the snake, the garland is the snake. Now you have to. It's contradictory. A garland cannot be a snake. But what is meant is it's not a garland, it's not a snake, it's a rope. The underlying reality, it's a rope. Even in this sentence, this is a snake, this is a garland. Give up the garland and the snake because they're false. But there's one thing true there. There is something there. So that common underlying reality, if you take and let go of the differences between God and man, God and human, are appearances. This is what distinguishes Advaita Vedanta from the other schools. The other schools insist God and human, that's the final reality. I was just thinking today, when this debate is there, when the dualists, the theists charge us, that you're blasphemous, you are denying God, you're erasing the difference between the human and the divine. Actually, we are not. We're saying that all the differences that you talk about in all the theistic religions, the dualistic religions of the world, including Advaita Vedanta, all the differences you talk about and hold on to, we agree to all of them. We just say that there is a deeper truth. There's something beyond that. We're not saying you're wrong. You're right. But there is something deeper than that. And at that deeper level of reality, the underlying, that absolute, as Meister Eckhart put it, the ground of God and the ground of my soul are the same reality. So that the ground, the foundation, the foundational reality, call it the absolute, the infinite, there is no difference between God and human. Because there is no God is not God there, human is not human there. It's just infinite existence, consciousness, bliss. So you reach there. What is the example for this? Soyam Devadatta. This is that Devadatta. And you remember the way we use this example. This is that Devadatta. That Devadatta I saw a long time ago. That Devadatta whom I'm seeing now. Long time ago, and now I ignore. He was young then, now he's old. Old and young I ignore. All these characteristics I ignore. What I mean to say, and everybody understands so easily, is that it's the same person. Exactly like that. When we say Tat Tvam Asi, we ignore that God is all powerful, all knowing, omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, and we are alpagya, alpashaktiman. We have so little knowledge, so little power. We ignore that because these are creations of Maya. These are projections of Maya. It's like a dream, like a movie. And what is common to both? What is the underlying reality because of which Maya can make these illusions? The underlying reality is existence, consciousness, bliss, or in the language used here, akhandartha, indivisible, one indivisible reality, one infinite reality without any difference. Another word is non-dual, Advaitam. So this is the process we went through. 3 steps. Samanadhikaranyam, 1, having the same locus. Then the Visheshana Visheshya Bhava, the adjectival relationship. And then third, Lakshya Lakshana Bhava, the implied meaning. And then we come to the realization that there is one existence consciousness, bliss, which in our the experience, in our the way we have transactions, appears as God, man, and the world. God, the human, and the world, all of this. All right. So this is what we have gotten so far. Now, before I go on, what's going to happen next? Next, we are going to go on to another Mahavakya, the great sentence, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. You might ask, so why are we going to go on to another Mahavakya? Isn't it the same meaning? You said they all mean the same thing, that you are Brahman. That is true. But I am Brahman, they have made a sort of, for convenience, post-Shankara Advaitins have made a division. The 4 Mahavakyas, there are four great sentences which are taken just as a matter of conventions. There are many Mahavakyas. How would you define a Mahavakya, great sentence? The sentence which tells us the identity of Jiva and Brahman, the individual sentient being and the absolute. That's a Mahavakya. Now, or which talks about one indivisible reality. Akhandartha bodhakam vakyam mahavakyam. So that's the definition. There are many such sentences in the Vedas, in the Upanishads, but 4 are taken. I repeated this number of times. 4 are taken for convention, 1 from each of the Vedas. And for ease, just as a matter of convention, these post-Shankara Advaitins have classified these 4 Mahavakyas into 4 types. The first one from the Rig Veda, Prajnanam Brahma. Brahman is consciousness. Prajnanam Brahma. Brahman is consciousness. That is classified, that is termed as the Lakshana Vakyam, that is the definitional Mahavakya. It defines what Brahman is. Brahman is consciousness. Then from the Sama Veda, you have Tat Tvam Asi, that thou art. And that is called the Upadesha Vakya, the sentence of instruction, because the Guru tells that to the disciple. The teacher is telling us, you are Brahman. That's why it's called Upadesha Vakyam. These are not from Shankaracharya. It's later, just for this ease of teaching, that these classifications have been made. Upadesha Vakyam. And then you have from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Yajurveda, Aham Brahmasmi. Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman. This is called Anubhava Vakya. This is what you realize, or what I realize. When we'll become enlightened, we realize I am Brahman. This will be my experience. Your experience won't be, teacher tells you that thou art, and you will not say that thou art, then it will go back and forth all the time. The teacher tells you that thou art, and you will realize I am that. That will be our realization. That will be our enlightenment. So Aham Brahmasmi is our enlightenment, our realization. That's why it's called Anubhava Vakyam. Anubhava Vakyam, the sentence of experience or realization. That's what you'll realize. And finally, in the Mandukya Upanishad from the Atharva Veda, there is one Mahavakya, Ayam Atma Brahma. This very self is the absolute. This very self is Brahman. So this is called Anusandhana Vakya. This is the state of realization or enlightenment. So this is what you have arrived at. This tells you, this connects you to the highest reality. This tells you what the state of affairs is. This very self is Brahman. Anusandhana Vakyam. Why did I say that? So next, what we will discuss, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. So why are we discussing that? Because the instruction has been given by the teacher. What did the teacher say? That thou art. And then we have now gone through this long process of trying to understand that thou art. Having understood this, we are expected to become enlightened. So what will that enlightenment be like? Enlightenment be like? Brahma Jnana, Atma Jnana. Enlightenment is an English word. What is the corresponding word in Vedanta? Brahma Jnana, knowledge of Brahman. Atma-jnana, the knowledge of the self. So what is it like? What happens exactly in enlightenment? And number of questions will come up then. Questions like, what is the nature of enlightenment? And from that will come the question, what is the nature of knowledge according to Advaita Vedanta? So how is this knowledge of Brahman different from other kinds of knowledge? Knowledge of a cup and a table and a chair. How is it different from knowledge of Brahman? And then related question will come up, is the mind, is it necessary for enlightenment or not? What is the role of the mind? Because there are statements in the Upanishad which seem contradictory. One Upanishad says that manasaiva edam aptavyam. It's only by the mind that this has to be realized. And another Upanishad says yan manasana manute. What cannot be realized by the mind? Now these seem to be contradictory. So how do you resolve these contradictions? And many questions will arise. So this knowledge which will arise, I am Brahman. So will it stay continuously, or will that knowledge disappear and only Brahman will remain? These questions will arise. So these discussions will be there. What is the role of the mind? In what sense the mind is necessary for enlightenment? In what sense it is not necessary for enlightenment? In what sense Brahman can be realized by the mind? And why do you say Brahman cannot be realized by the mind? All these things. And you see how they are related. Once you have this contradiction set up, one Upanishad says it can be realized by the mind alone. Another one says it cannot be realized by the mind. How do you harmonize these statements? From there, the bigger question arises, what after all is enlightenment? What is this knowledge of Brahman? From there, the even bigger question arises, what is knowledge according to Advaita? Bigger means wider question. So all these issues will now be discussed. Before we jump into it, it's very interesting. Many questions which we have had many weeks, months ago. I remember them all, you do not. Like Krishna says to Arjuna, we have had many births, oh Arjuna. You do not remember them, but I remember them all. So I remember you all asking, I remember some questions which were asked, and at that time I was waiting for this time to come so that we can answer those questions. Anyway, but before we go into it, let's just stay with that thou art, Tat Tvam Asi, for a while longer and reflect upon what we have got here. This that thou art, to me, it sort of sums up, encapsulates all of spirituality, all of religion. What is, first of all, you have to be clear, what is that and thou? And that's why, and we will realize why it was so important to go through that process of superimposition and desuperinposition, adhyaropa apavada. We went through this long process for the last few months. So we realize what is the exact meaning of that, and what is the exact meaning of thou. What is the exact meaning of that technically, according to this book? Maya avachinna chaitanya, Maya upahita chaitanya, consciousness limited by or associated with Maya. Or in simple words, God, Ishvara, Saguna Brahman, God. That's the meaning of that, the creator, preserver, and destroyer of the universe. And thou, what's the meaning of thou? Us. Technically, Ajnana upahita chaitanya, same consciousness associated with or limited by ignorance. And what is the ignorance? This is just a part of Maya, a fraction of the power of Maya. So this is the meaning of thou. Basically, God and the sentient being, the all-powerful, the God of religion, what theistic religions worship, and us, sentient beings. Now, if you look at it, all the religions will be either in the category of that-oriented religions, which are like that inquiry-based, search for that, and the self-oriented religions, which are the search for the self, inquiry into the self, inquiry into God, inquiry into self, the search after God, God realization, or the search after self, self-realization. Two kinds of religion are there, broadly speaking. Now, all the theistic religions, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, within Hinduism, you have a broad variety of Shaktaism, the worship of the Divine Mother, Shaivism, Shiva, Vaishnavism, worship of Vishnu or Narayana. All of these are, and their avatars, associated avatars, Rama and Krishna. We are all worshippers in Hinduism of some avatar or the other, generally. All of this falls under the category of that, Tat. Clearly, all of this, whatever conception of God you have, it falls under the umbrella of that oriented religion. And the self-inquiry based religion, there are others which do not talk about God at all. Jainism, Buddhism. Buddhism is the biggest example. Within Hinduism also, Sankhya, Yoga. Yoga, immediately somebody might say yoga talks about God, but the God that yoga talks about is not the Saguna Brahman, Ishvara of Vedanta. It is a Purusha Vishesha, technically speaking, those who know the yoga philosophy of Patanjali. So these are, and also in yoga, attaining that God is not the goal of Patanjali yoga. Self-realization, Kaivalya, is the goal of Patanjali yoga. So these are the self-inquiry based approaches, and those are the God-seeking approaches, two kinds. And each has its advantage, each has its disadvantage. Each has advantage and disadvantage. What is the biggest disadvantage of the gods oriented religions? This we are aware of. The biggest disadvantage is the that oriented religions, the God oriented religions, they all entirely depend on faith, on belief. That oriented religion, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, in fact, that's the name in America, faith. You see, that's the name for religion in America, faith. And that's the weakness, because they depend on belief. If you do not believe for a long time, long process, if you do not believe, won't work for you. If at the very beginning you ask for proof, you ask for a demonstration to begin with, it won't work. You have to accept the teachings of the scriptures, of the masters, and then it works. So that it is based on faith. If you do not believe, then the thing will not work. And it's a weakness because in today's age, it's even more difficult. If you listen to a few talks of Richard Dawkins and Christopher Hitchens and who else is there? Sam Harris, Daniel Dennett, the strongest of faith will be shaken. Or even if it's not shaken, it will be shown to be silly. So that's the problem of the God-oriented religion. That problem does not have is not there in the self-inquiry based religions, because I exist. That is beyond any doubt. In fact, Descartes, his whole project of doubt, universal doubt, to set out to doubt everything, one thing he could not doubt was himself. Cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I exist. In fact, Vedanta would say, I exist, therefore I think. But anyway, my own existence is indubitable. What is the nature of that existence can be debated. But I exist, nobody doubts. Notice, in all the God-centered religions, those who have studied religion, they'll know that in all the theistic religions, there's always an effort to prove the existence of God. Theologians through the ages have tried to demonstrate the existence of God. The very fact that they try to demonstrate the existence of God shows that there's a problem. It's not obvious that God exists. So in the Nyaya philosophy, Udayana Acharya gives 9 proofs of the existence of God in his not Atma Tattva, Nyaya Kusumanjali, the garland of logical arguments. Why was he giving that? Because he was faced with the Buddhist. The Buddhist was attacking the Hindu schools by saying, there's no God. Where is this Ishvara you're talking about? What is the proof? And the Hindu dualists, like the Nyaya school, were trying to establish the existence of God. They're trying to establish existence of God and self, Atma and Ishvara. So, proofs of the existence of God. In Christianity, Islam, there is the famous Kalam argument, cosmological argument for the existence of God. In Christianity, Thomas Aquinas, for example, gives 5 proofs of the existence of God. Theologians, already before him, those proofs were in existence. So, arguments for the existence of God. There is the cosmological argument from first cause, the design theory. All these arguments are there. And these arguments are heavily battered in modern times, especially by the advancement of science. Science, especially modern cosmology and evolution, the theory of evolution, has thrown into great doubt all those arguments for the existence of God. Whereas in the self-inquiry based religions, you never have an argument for the existence of oneself. What is the nature? You might think that Buddhism argues against the existence of Atman. Yes, the existence of the Atman as propounded by the Nyaya Vaisheshika school, like a separate entity existing apart from body and mind, but that we all have a sense of self. That it's undeniable. Even the Buddhist has a sense of self. What is the nature of the self? Is it a stream of momentary consciousness, as the Buddhist says, or is it a permanent entity called Atman, as the Hindu says? Though that can be debated. But that there is a sense of self, it's directly evident. No matter whoever gives you an argument, you don't need any argument to prove it. No argument can disprove it, because we are always accepting, we are always seeing our own experience as self. So no need to prove the existence of oneself. It is directly, that's why you see with this Tat Tvam Asi, one of the contradictions between Tat and Tvam. It was given in technical language, perhaps you did not notice. Paroksha, Aparoksha Chaitanya. Tat is called Paroksha Chaitanya. It's a consciousness, but it is associated with Parokshatvam. It's a distant, remote. We read about it, we believe about it, but we don't have direct experience of God. Our own consciousness, Tvam, the individual, is directly experienced as the first person experience as the self all the time. Whatever be its nature, but it's directly experienced. So there is no need to prove your own existence. It's indubitable. It's certain. It's the certainty upon which all other kinds of certainty are based. Shankaracharya says, Yaeva tasya nirakarta tasyeva atmasa. Whoever tries to deny the self, it is the self of that very denier. Who is denying after all? You can't deny the denier. You can't negate the negator of the self. So the negator must be there. All right. Now, but what is the disadvantage of the self-inquiry based approach? And what is the advantage of the God-based approach? The advantage of the disadvantage of the self-inquiry based approach is, yeah, fine, I understand that I exist. There is no doubt about it. But that's the problem. It's not a great thing. I exist. I'm surrounded by 1,000 problems. I exist, but I'm subject to old age and coronavirus and disease and death. I'm subject to financial problems. I'm subject to frustration in the world and unhappiness in the world, dissatisfaction. 100 and 1,000 problems surround by, yes, indubitable existence, incontrovertible existence, but surrounded by an ocean of problems. Whereas God has no problems. God is infinite, omniscient, omnipotent, all-pervading. What problem does God have if God exists? I exist, no doubt about it, but I'm surrounded by problems. Okay. Now, the nature of people who practice this is also, the nature of people who practice is also different. I have noticed that most spiritual seekers fall in either category. Young men who used to come to become monks in Belur Math, sometimes you'd ask them, why have you become a monk? What are you looking for? Cleanly, they fall into two categories. One category says, I am searching for God. I want God realization. Another category says that I'm searching for self-realization. Who am I? That's my question. What am I? So one category says, what am I is not very appealing to me. I sort of know what I am, and it's not a very interesting question, but does God exist? And this is the question Vivekananda went to Sri Ramakrishna with. Can you see God? Does God exist? Can God be experienced? And who am I is, I exist, but what exactly am I? So these two kinds of seekers. And if you look at the practices also, they are also different. One kind, the God-oriented religions are usually devotional. You will see they are all bhakti-oriented religions, all of them. Faith, devotion, love, surrender. And the practices are also worship, and there'll be a place of worship, a temple or a mosque or a church, and there's worship, there's ritual, there's music and food, and so many things are associated with. That's a ritualistic devotional religion. Magnificent, very, very nice. And the self-inquiry based religions are generally, you will see they're generally meditative, philosophical. If you go to a Buddhist meditation hall, you will see like that, or a yogi, Patanjali yogi, is more interested in stuff, like performing rituals, is more interested in sitting in a lotus position and closing the eyes and looking inwards. So it is a meditative philosophical approach in the self-inquiry based religions. What else? You'll notice I have not said anything about Advaita so far. I have not put it in either camp. Advaita is actually the one which says both are the same. What you find at the end of your belief system, and you'll ultimately, if you become enlightened that way, and what you find by self-inquiry, they are one and the same. This goes back to that adjectival relationship, the mutually excluding action of both. What the genius of Advaita is worth thinking about. I'll put it out there and you just think about it. Recall to your mind the advantages and disadvantages of both paths. Now, what Advaita does is, when it says you are nothing but Brahman and Brahman is nothing but you, what it does is, it takes the advantages of both and combines them and excludes the disadvantages of both. What do I mean by that? It takes the indubitable certainty, the perfect certainty of your own existence, and the infinitude of God's existence, and makes them one. What it does is, after all, think about it this way, isn't this what we are doing? We are locating our own indubitable existence, step one. Step two, we are showing that existence to be infinite. I'll repeat again. I always say Advaita has two steps. The first step is to locate what exactly do I mean by I? Who am I? I am the witness of the mind and the body. I'm the witness of the three bodies: causal body, subtle body, gross body. Sthula, Sukshma, Karana, Sharira, Vilakshana Atma. I am the witness of the five sheaths. Panchakosha, Vilakshana Atma. This consciousness, this drik, drashta. That consciousness, Sakshi Chaitanya. Then the next step, what do? I prove that this very consciousness, which you are, is not limited by anything. All things which might limit it. As bodies, we are limited because clearly I am this body, I am not those bodies. As minds, we are limited. Clearly, I have some knowledge, I do not have some other knowledge. But as the underlying awareness, where is the limitation? Because all limitations are in that awareness. The awareness is not a spark of awareness in the midst of limitations. You are not a spark of consciousness in a vast material universe. Rather, you are the consciousness in which the material universe appears. You are that ocean of awareness in the universe, appears, plays around, and disappears like a wave, in the language of Ashtavakra. Limitation means time limitation. Limitation means space limitation. But time and space appear in awareness. Is awareness in time and space, or is time and space in awareness? Body is definitely in time and space. Thoughts in the mind and knowledge events are also definitely at least in time, if not in space. But both time and space and everything that is in the playground of Maya, they are all in awareness. That is the switch, the paradigm shift, which Advaita is trying to push us towards, nudge us towards. When you do that, you suddenly realize, first of all, because you are nothing but Brahman and Brahman is nothing but you. And we see that I am not the body, not the mind, I am the witness consciousness, one. This witness consciousness, not limited by time, is not born with the body, does not die with the body, does not age with the body, not subject to change and disease and death, is not limited in space, not limited in time. So this is the beauty of Advaita Vedanta. So this is the meaning of Tat Tvam Asi, the general, like a wider view of what's going on here, that thou art. Let me start the next part. The meaning of I am Brahman. So text number 170. Atha adhunaham brahmasmi Iti anubhava vakyatto vanyate. Now is being described the meaning of the sentence, I am Brahman, expressive of intuitive experience. Atha, next, hence. Adhuna, now. Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. This is from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Iti, this, or full stop, Anubhava Vakyam, the sentence which expresses our enlightenment, our realization. Varnyate, this is going to be explained. We're going to take a look at that. Why? Not to analyze it, that thou art in that way. That's done. You don't think that we're going to go through, oh God, again that Samanadhikaranyam Visheshana Visheshya Bhava, Lakshya Lakshana Bhava, none of that. That's gone. Now we're going to take a look. It's very interesting. What is enlightenment? All those questions I raised is what is the role of the mind in enlightenment? How is knowledge of Brahman different from other kinds of knowledge, and so on? How is it even possible? So all those things we will see now. Okay, let me read. Just by the way, when I say something like atha, next, or now, actually adhuna means now, so atha means next, hence. So I sort of translate it casually and go ahead. But when you traditionally study Vedanta, these texts from a traditional teacher, the way they do it is this way. When you come across the word atha, you'll stop. The word atha has 5 meanings in the classical Sanskrit dictionary Amar Kosha, 5 meanings. Which one will fit here? They'll consider those 5 meanings and then take the one which fits here. And the one which fits here is next. So what are the 5 meanings for it? So it is not relevant to our discussion, but just to give you a taste. When you say atha, what does it mean? It means mangala, auspiciousness. That's one meaning. It means next, anantaryartha, next, the meaning which has been taken here. It means like in the sense of beginning. You're starting something. So in the sense of beginning. And then it means in the sense of a question. Another meaning is sense of completion, katsni or purnata. So these are various meanings. I hope I'm getting that right. I don't want to give you some wrong information. Mangalanantar armya. So so auspiciousness, next in the sense of anantarya, then in the sense of beginning, and in the sense of completion. Yeah, question and completion. So, and we see that in this case, it is the sense of next, anantarya, what happens next. So in the Brahma Sutras, for example, you have a sutra, Athato Brahma Jigyasa, hence, therefore, an inquiry into Brahman. The word Atha is there. What does it mean? There also it means next, after this. And then the question will arise, after what? Because the text itself starts with after this. Suppose you have a book which starts next. You will be puzzled. What do you mean next? There's nothing before the book. So Shankaracharya says, once you have got the qualifications, the 4-fold qualifications, Viveka, Vairagya, you're ready for a spiritual, and now you're ready for spiritual life. That's what is meant by next. Anyway, now we will see. I am Brahman, enlightenment. At last, Brahma Jnana, Atma Jnana, realization of Brahman. We are here, we've done it. Text number 171. Evam acharyena adhyaropa apavada purassaram tattvam padartho shodhaitva vakyena akhandarthe avabodhite adhikarino aham nitya shuddha buddha mukta satya swabhava paramananda ananta advayam brahmasmi iti akhandakara karita chitta vritti rudeti. When the teacher in this way clears the meaning of the words that and thou by the removal of the superimpositions and makes the qualified student grasp the import of the sentence, thou art that which is absolute unity, There arises in his mind a state of absolute oneness in which he feels that he is Brahman, by nature eternal, pure, self-illumined, free, real, supremely blissful, infinite, and one without a second. So you can see that they love long sentences. What does it mean? Evam, in this manner. In which manner? In the manner which we have studied so far. First of all, that thou art, the 3 steps we underwent. And before that, we will say, the whole process of superimposition and desupperimposition we studied. So, evam, in this way. Acharyena, by the teacher. So, clearly it indicates it's knowledge. It's not your yoga teacher in the yoga studio. We'll put you through some physical exercises. It's not your art teacher or music teacher. It's the teacher of Vedanta. It's a transmission of knowledge, Acharyena. He teaches us. How does he teach us? Adhyaropa apavada purassaram. First, by teaching us superimposition and desupperimposition. What is superimposition, desupperimposition? Remember, just like the rope is mistaken for the snake, one reality is mistaken for this entire universe. What is the nature of that reality? Remember, we read about it. Vastu Satchidanandamadvayam Brahma. The reality is existence, consciousness, bliss, non-dual, Brahman. Brahman literally means the vast. That infinite existence, consciousness, bliss, and non-dual, that is real. And it appears as this universe. We mistake that for this universe, just as a rope is mistaken for a snake. That's called superimposition. And what is desupperimposition? When the snake is seen to be the rope. You see that, oh, it's not a snake, it's a rope. It's not a universe which you're experiencing. It's Brahman, it's the absolute. Notice, therefore, we are already experiencing it. We need to know it for what it really is, the truth here. So Tat Tvam, and by this, what is attained by the superimposition, desupperimposition? Tat Tvam Padartha Shodhana. The clarification, analysis of the terms that and thou. Because direct meaning of that is God, and direct meaning of thou is the individual. And you analyze them to be the underlying one consciousness with the help of superimposition, desupperimposition. It's revealed to you that it is one consciousness alone. Vakyena akandartha avabodhite. By the sentence. Which sentence? The one which we studied all along, that thou art. Now arises the knowledge of akhandartha. Akhandartha means one indivisible reality, one infinite reality. Akhanda, indivisible. This is infinite. There's a technical meaning for that. Remember, this goes back to the very invocation which we chant every time we start the book. Satchidanandam, akhandam Satchidanandam. The first word we read in the book is akhandam, indivisible. And if you remember how we analyzed it, there are different kinds of division or difference. And that reality is devoid of any difference. What are the kinds of difference? Sajatiya, Vijatiya, Swagata. Sajatiya, Vijatiya. Vijatiya means difference in kind. So a cat is different from a tree. A tree is different from a human being. They're different kinds of things. Is there anything different from consciousness? Normally you will see, of course there is. I am aware and there are so many things I'm aware of which are different from me. That's our ordinary understanding of consciousness. That's what's studied in consciousness studies. No, clearly we are not talking about that. We are talking about the deeper nature of that consciousness where there is nothing really apart from consciousness. Vijatiya, nothing. This is much easier to understand when you think about existence. Sat. Obviously, there is nothing apart from existence, nothing different from existence. If it's different from existence, what will it be? Non-existent. So it's a no-brainer. From consciousness, we can always think of consciousness as this consciousness, this which is mental functioning, thoughts, feelings, emotions, ideas. Different from that, of course, there's the body, there's the world. But when we look at existence itself, then it becomes clear there can be nothing different from existence. If it is different from existence, it is not. Then Sajatiya. Are there many different kinds of existences or consciousnesses or blisses? It would seem so, but it actually isn't. There are different kinds of existing things, but existence itself is not of different kinds. Where is the difference between one existence and another? Water in all the waves are of different sizes and activities and shapes, and but the water in that is not limited by the waves. It's the same water everywhere, same existence everywhere. There's no difference of kind in or difference. Are there other existences? No. Are there many existences? Same existence, but many of them. We say the cat and tree are different, but among cats also there are many cats, there are many trees. Are there many existences, many Brahmans, many infinite realities? No. There's only one infinite reality. Now, fine. There's a third kind of difference is within that same reality. Are there differences, the internal differences? Yes, I am one body. But there's a difference between my arms and my leg and my tummy and my chest and my head. Different parts. They're all different functions. They look different. So different functions are there, different names. So similarly, yes, there is an absolute reality, but within that absolute reality are there differences, internal differences, like Vishishtadvaita would say. Vishishtadvaita would say that there is one reality, Brahman, but Brahman has internal differences. Jiva, Jagat, there are differences internal to Brahman. It's a whole with parts. Advaita says, no, there are no internal differences also. So this entity, this reality without any external differences of the same type, or differences within itself, to put it in one phrase, Sajatya, Vijatya, Swagata, Bheda, Rahita, Akhandam, indivisible. Avabodhite, when we realize this. How do we realize? By going through the process of analysis of that thou art. Before this, we must have gone through the process of superimposition, desuperimposition. One realizes, I am Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahma, I am Brahman. And here he has inserted a escape clause, fine print, like a good lawyer. Adhikarinaha, the qualified student, one who has got fourfold qualifications. Otherwise, what will happen? We will claim, I've gone through it. I patiently waited through all these Vedantasara classes, and I have gone through superimposition and desuperimposition. I have gone through all those, the three types of stages of analyzing that thou art. So I should realize I am Brahman. I can even recite Aham Brahmasmi. But no, I'm honest. I don't get it. It doesn't happen to me. So he has this escape clause. Adhikarina, you must be qualified adhikari. So the guru can say that you have not reached that level of qualification yet, so it's not working yet for you. What is the realization? Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. What kind of realization is this? Aham Nityamasmi, Nityasmi. I am eternal. Check within yourself. Do you honestly feel that you are eternal? Or do you feel? So we are in a kind of a twilight, Once you have read this and if you really seriously thought about it, you begin to see what they mean. You see, in a certain sense, it's quite possible that I'm eternal, because if I am this consciousness and I begin to see what they mean, I must be eternal. But it's not a living reality for me, like a blazing forth directly, like I feel I am this body mind. It does not come to me like that. When it comes to you like that, I am eternal. It'll be obvious. Shuddha. I am pure consciousness, beyond the touch of karma, papa punya, beyond good karma and bad karma. Buddha, consciousness. Buddha means swaprakasha, ever effulgent. I'm ever revealed. My own existence is indubitable, ever shining forth. Mukta, ever free. Sarva upadhi rahita. That even when where is that glass thing? I'd shown you one glass thing, so this one appears to be orange when I put or yellow when I put the yellow cloth behind it. Because I'm consciousness and the body appears in it, I feel like I am a body. Yes, I'm consciousness, but a body. Just like it looks like a yellow piece of glass, a yellow paperweight. It's not a yellow paperweight. Even when the yellow color is there, it looks yellow. It's actually free of the yellow. It's not, it has not become yellow at all. Similarly, I am not the body, not the mind, and so on. Upadhi rahita. Then Buddha mukta. Then what else is the thing? Satya. Satya means trikala vadi tatyam satyatvam. I am not negatable, falsifiable in the three periods of time, past, present, future. At no time can my own existence be negated. I am absolutely real in that sense. Nothing else is. Satya swabhav of this nature. Paramananda. I am completely fulfilled. I do not seek fulfillment anywhere else because I am an infinite, anantam, unlimited, infinite. So remember the nature of limitation. What is limitation? Desha kala vastu paricheda. Limitation in space. I am here and not there. But that is not true of me. As consciousness, as existence, both here and there are within me, or they appear in me. If they don't appear in me, they're outside me, they don't exist because I am existence. And then, so I'm not limited in time also. What is limitation in time? Before this, I did not exist. After that, I will not exist. And I exist only in this, between my birth and death. That's true of the body. That's true of thoughts. But it's not true of me, existence itself, consciousness itself. Time appears and plays around in me. I am not in time. And time is also, when it appears in me, it's an appearance. It's not real. So I'm not limited by time. Vastu paricheda. I am one thing and not the other thing. I am this person, Sarvapriyananda, and not the other 66 people in this meeting. That's Vastu paricheda. As Sarvapriyananda, I'm different from it. This is a book, and this is a pen. A pen is not a book. A pen is only a pen. It's not anything else. The billions of other entities in the universe, it's different from all of them, including other pens. Similarly, this book is different from all other entities in the universe. It is only this book. This is a kind of limitation. It's this and nothing else. Whereas Ananta, infinite, is that which is not different, that from which nothing is different. How can that be? Because you are existence. What can be different from you? If something is different from you, what will happen to that poor thing? It will become non-existent. Different from existence is non-existent. So all things are you. But you are free of all of them. Advayam, non-dual, because there is nothing different from you. So there is no second thing different from you. No second, not two. Not two, non-dual. In Sanskrit, Advaitam. That Brahman I am. So what it means is, Aham Nitya Brahmasmi. I am this eternal Brahman. Aham Shuddha Brahmasmi. I am this pure Brahman, ever free of karma. Aham Buddha Brahmanasmi. I am this ever effulgent, self-revealing, shining Brahman. Aham Mukta Brahmasmi. I am the ever free Brahman. I am Satya Brahmasmi, Satya Swabhava Brahmasmi. Aham Paramananda Brahmasmi. I am the Brahman, the nature of all fulfillment. Aham Ananta Brahmasmi. I am the infinite Brahman. Aham Advayam Brahmasmi. I am the non-dual Brahman. This will be the realization. Ityakara karita, akhandakara karita, chitta vritti udeti. What is the nature of illumination? Chitta vritti. It is a realization in the mind. Chitta vritti means a movement in the mind. Where have you come across this term earlier? Chitta vritti. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. What is yoga? Yoga is the cessation of all the modifications of the mind, samadhi. Chitta vritti means every modification of the mind. Here chitta does not mean mano buddhi chitta ahankara, that is memory. Here it means anything which is, it is mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankara, all of it is vritti, chitta vritti. Any movement of the mind, whatever you think of, remember, desire, feel, perceive, every movement in the mind is a chitta vritti. So this brahmakara vritti is also chitta vritti. Enlightenment arises in the mind. This will lead to a question immediately. In what is then, what kind of enlightenment is it? Why do you say that it's beyond the mind? In what sense is it within the mind? What sense not in the mind? That all that will come very clearly later on. But for the time being, this will lead to a chitta vritti. This chitta vritti, What nature? Akhandakarakarita, of the form of the indivisible reality. What do you mean by that? Every chitta-vritti has a form. So when you know a book, what happens? Book akara vritti comes in your mind. A vritti, a modification of the mind, a movement in the mind, basically a perception in the mind of the form of the book arises in the mind. Basically, you're thinking about the mind. What's happening? Light is reflected from the book. It goes to your eyes, of course, here through a very complicated process of going through the camera and the computer and the internet and reconstituted again in your screen, and then passes as light to your eyes, and then through the optic nerves races to the brain, and from there somehow, nobody knows how, nobody has a clue how, it goes to the mind, what we call the mind. And in the mind, a perception, a vritti, chitta vritti arises. Chitta vritti is nothing other than mind. It's not a book. Remember, a book does not arise in your mind. It's a thought about a book. It's a thought whose content is a book. Content means it's about a book, not that in the thought there is actually a book. The thought is just a thought, and that thought is about a book, chitta vritti. Now that is called book akara vritti. If you see a pot, a ghata, then the vritti in your mind will be ghata akara vritti. If you hear like you're hearing my voice, in your mind there will be shabdakara vritti. There's a movement, modification of the mind in the form of my words. That's how you see, hear, smell, taste. That's how you remember and desire and all of those things. Understand, every movement of the mind is chitta vritti, and every vritti has an akara, form. And the form is of the object of the whatever you're thinking about, that is the form. Okay, what are we thinking about here? We're thinking about Brahman. How are we thinking about Brahman? By this entire process of Tat Tvam Asi and all the superimposition, desupperimposition. See, how does it work? Just a couple of words and a couple of sentences, and I'll end here. How does it work? These vrittis are raised by pramana, by sources of knowledge. By seeing something, chakshu, eyes, it raises a pratyaksha pramana, a chakshusha pratyaksha. That means a visual vritti in the mind. I see a form. You hear something, you hear an auditory, there's an auditory vritti in the mind about some sound. So what is the pramana here? Eyes and ears and so on. Sometimes you do an inference, a scientific process of inference, and it raises that kind of an understanding in the mind, a scientific understanding in the mind, inferential understanding. So mind plus eyes gives you a vritti about a form. Mind plus your ears gives you a vritti about a sound. Mind plus scientific inferential process gives you an understanding, inferential understanding about some scientific, fact. Mind plus what will give you a vritti about Brahman? Mind plus what? You're the mind. The mind plus what will give you a vritti, a thought, like a movement in the mind, and understanding about Brahman. Mind plus Tat Tvam Asi, the Vedantic teaching. Very precisely, that thou art. But in general, mind plus the pramana here is Vedanta. The source of knowledge here is just as mind plus eyes gives you a vritti about this thing. You're seeing this thing now in my hand, and you look at it, your eyes will give you the vritti in the mind. You study Vedanta. So Vedanta is the pramana. What kind of pramana is it? It is one of the 6 pramanas accepted. Pramana means source of knowledge. 6 pramanas accepted by Advaita. It is called Shruti pramana. And that raises a vritti in the mind. Just as when you see this, it will be book akara vritti, a vritti in the form of a book in your mind. When you study Vedanta in the way we have done so far, it will raise a vritti in the form of Brahman for you. Here, form does not mean physical form. Form here, many things don't have physical form. An understanding about science or mathematics doesn't have a physical form. Here, its form just means your ignorance about Brahman, this subject is removed. And there's a lot of discussion about this. How can Brahman, which has no form, what will be the form of that vritti? A form of the book akar vritti, we have an understanding what it means. But what about Brahman? What form does it have? What will be the nature of that vritti? So the discussion finally culminates with Madhusudan Saraswati. He says, form of the vritti simply means the capacity to remove the ignorance about that object. That is the form of the vritti. He uses Navya Nyaya language. Tad avachinna chaitanya nishtha ajnana nivartana yogyatvam. Literally means the capacity to remove ignorance about the object delimiting underlying consciousness. That's the phrase. But just the form means we study about Vedanta, we study about Brahman, how I am Brahman, and we come to an understanding, oh, this is what is meant. This is all. And it will, what will it do? So it's very carefully phrased it. It will not show you Brahman. So that's already there. You are already there. It will not illumine. It cannot illumine Brahman. And it's impossible for the mind to actually illumine Brahman. But it will remove ignorance about Brahman. Okay, that is the meaning of Brahmakara Vritti. So this is the first thing that happens when illumination takes place. We'll stop here. And now let's quickly take a look. A lot of activity in the chat. Does this analysis also help equate Atman is equal to Brahman? Yes, yes. This is the actual meaning of Tat Tvam Asi. Atman and Brahman are the same thing. And that's what we realize. Girish says, is it fair to say that as in Advaita, both Kant and Hegel believe that we perceive only virtual reality? They stopped short of equating that, the thing in itself, or spirit, with thou. Correct. I mentioned somewhere recently, that Kant's beautiful saying, that two things fill us with wonder, the starry heavens above and the moral law within the heart of man. Two things fill us with wonder. Basically, if you put it in this technical terms of Vedanta, what he's talking about is Tat and Tvam. Tat is the reality of the cosmos. Tvam is the reality within us. And the two places where Kant fails. He says that ultimate reality cannot be known. The reality of the cosmos cannot be known. And the reality within us also cannot be known. Vedanta says it can be known. Not only that's one. Second, Vedanta says both are the same thing, ultimately.
Pranam Maharaj, when we say, like, we learn all this, and could be because of the impurity of the mind, that it doesn't come automatic. So a life of always vichara, where will that take us?
Because it doesn't come easily or automatically. The only thing you can do is repeat this process of Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasana. This is the path of vichara, of inquiry. And at one point, what will happen is, it will fall into place and that Akhandakara Vritti will arise. It has to arise only once, for one instant. Then it becomes absolutely clear. Because the reality is always there. It will be revealed to you. Let me just mention here, one of the issues which arises here is, eyes can show us something. Ears can give us the information, the sound, what we are talking about. We can just hear music, speech. Eyes can show us what's going on. Can words like that thou art reveal knowledge directly? Words, we understand, words can give us knowledge, but that's verbal knowledge. That's information. Can it give us direct knowledge? Aparoksha jnana. We know senses can give us what is called pratyaksha jnana. That means perceptual knowledge. That's pretty direct. We see, we hear, we smell, we taste. That's the most direct kind of experience we can have. Mind gives us even more direct knowledge. That is pain, pleasure, what we directly experience within ourselves. The most intense kind of experience is in the mind. Actually, all experience ultimately is in the mind. The mind doesn't function, no experience is possible. But can words give us knowledge? It can.
Kunti Putra.
No. What did you say?
Kunti Putra, like when...
yes, like that. But even more directly, Dashamastvamasi, Asi, 10, thou art the 10th. When what the words are talking about is directly, immediately present to you, then the words can give you knowledge, direct knowledge. Otherwise, when say, the words talk about say something that is not directly present to you, immediately present to you. It talks about, say, what's going on in the depth of the Pacific Ocean. Now, that is just be verbal knowledge. You're told something by your professor. But if it's something like, thou art the 10th, the effect of that knowledge will be to realize, oh, the 10th person is I, and no further knowledge is required. I immediately realize, because I am always present to myself. So what Tat Tvam Asi is referring to is you yourself, not a second thing apart from you. It just removes the ignorance about yourself. That thing which clouds us and makes us feel I am a limited being, that's ignorance. That limits us within the thing of the limitation, upadhi of the Tao, the jiva, the sentient being. So that's the limitation. That's what it directly it removes. And you have to keep doing that vichara till that Brahmakara vritti arises. All these texts help us in that. All the Upanishads we'll be reading after this. We'll keep on. It's just repeating this process. All right, Shravani.
Thank you.
Pranam Maharaj, in the analysis, the last one, the implied meaning, when we were analyzing, we were removing, you said, the contradiction, which is Maya and avidya,
Avidya,
yes, mind.
correct.
Now, are they really contradictory? Are they really different? Because earlier we read about that Maya has a cosmic aspect and an individual aspect.
Yes.
Mind, a cosmic mind and a cosmic body. Now, is the contradiction in size, or what is it? Where
Yes, contradiction in size, in power, in excellence. It's just like if you say, I am Einstein. Take a very small example. It seems contradictory. Einstein was before my time. Einstein was super intelligent. I am after Einstein's time. I'm not as intelligent as Einstein. Einstein was a great scientist. I'm not at all a great scientist. These are contradictory, clearly, obviously contradictory facts. Similarly, to say I am God is obviously contradictory.
But intrinsically, they're the same. Maya and
intrinsically, they are the same. Intrinsically, how are they same? Intrinsically, they are the same as Brahman, not as Maya. See, if you say as Maya,
both
then the totality of Maya and the part of Maya cannot be the same.
Okay.
Because in Maya and avidya, as you are saying, cosmic body, individual body. But how can the whole body be the same as one cell? Yeah, they are both bodies and they're parts of the same reality. True. But one cell is tiny and the whole body is extraordinary, is enormously larger. So the whole cosmic body and one individual body, whole cosmic mind and one individual mind, and the cosmic causal body, Maya, and one individual cosmic, the causal body, the avidya or Anandamaya Kosha, they're hugely different.
So in a material sense, they are different. In a material sense, they're different.
In a material sense, they're different. There are massive differences, but they're not real. That's why they can be safely ignored.
And the reality ignorance, when I say intrinsically, I meant ignorance. As ignorance, both are ignorance. Little ignorance, big ignorance.
Yes. I wanted to show you something that Shekhar shared with me, which is perfect for what is called Avachedavada. Yes. Now, you see the sky outside. There's a vast blue sky outside. And there's a big window. And inside of it, there's a small hole, another one down here, a small hole here. Small hole in the wall and one big nice window in the wall. Outside, there's the vast sky. The big window gives you a nice view of the vast sky. And the small hole gives you a much smaller view, a limited view of the vast sky. Now, this small hole is the Tvam, and this big window is the Tat. This big window, the sky streaming through the big window is God, Saguna Brahman. The sky streaming through or shining through the small hole is Tvam, the individual being. But the sky in itself is the Nirguna Brahman. With sky, if you ask the sky, so why are you big in God? Why are you small in the individual being? The sky will ask, what God, what individual being? Why are you like square and large and nice and shiny in the window? Why are you so small and round in the hole? The sky will ask, what hole, what window? I'm the sky, the unlimited sky. What Vedanta is telling you is, what you are seeing in this window and what you are seeing in yourself, that little hole, it's the same reality. The window and the hole do not matter. See, the interesting thing is the hole and the window do not do anything to that sky. As long as you identify yourself with the window or the hole, you are a limited being. But you are being told you are not the whole. And then we immediately say, we're being told that you're not the body. We immediately say, yeah, but I'm the person, the awareness in the body. So we'll say, we're saying that I'm this little circular sky in the hole. No. If you look at the nature of the sky, it is never a little circular sky. It is an unlimited vast sky. The moment you realize that, by Drigdrishya Viveka, by Panchakosha Viveka, Avasthatraya Viveka, everything takes you to that. So you have to concentrate, first of all, here in the whole itself. Because that's our experience. Here we are in this place. And this is that God whose help we take. But both are actually the same thing. God is also not a window. We are also not a hole. We are the vast blue sky, and God is also the vast blue sky. But then the window is lost and the hole is also lost.
Right. And the whole in case of God, I mean, the whole exists in the window. I mean, if we take the analogy.
Yeah, right. If you take the analogy to further, what is this hole? It's nothing other than a part of the window itself. Actually, the example often used is the window itself and the squares panes, the glass panes you see here. Each pane is like an individual being like us. It's much smaller and much less impressive than the whole window. But suppose there are millions of such panes, billions of such little glass panes in the window, and everyone thinks of itself as a separate little window. And the whole window is so magnificent. But both are absolutely mistaken. Beyond both is an unlimited vastness, which is the only reality. Here, window and glass pane, hole, all these are separate for the example. But in consciousness, there's no separation. There's nothing apart from the vast blue sky. Yeah, so this is a good example, and it's actually used in one theory called Avachedavada in Vedanta. If you remember, not in such a good example, but a more clumsy example, Sadananda Yogendra tried to give us this example. In the example of the sky and the forest and the trees, again and again he mentioned. And the Pratibimbavada example he tried to give us, the example of the lake and the drops of water and the sky reflected in the lake and the sky itself. They're a little more complicated, those examples, but it's basically this same thing. Always identify yourself, not with the whole, not even with the little sky seen in the whole. That is called the reflected consciousness, but the sky itself without any reference to the whole. And then you can shine through that hole for as long as the hole remains or the little pane of glass remains. That means this body and mind. You're always remaining aware that you are the infinite. And the existence, the eventual disappearance of that hole or the glass makes no difference to you, the sky. You are always what you always were, perfectly free of any problems. All problems are with the little hole. Very good.
And this understanding matures into realization through Shravana Manana. Repeated. Is that what you just said?
Yes. This will come through repeated Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. Stick with the class and we'll do wonderful things together. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu